Microsoft won, then vanished. For 2 decades, it spent like a superpower. It bought studios, subsidized hardware, built Xbox Live, paid for exclusives, and acquired Activision Blizzard for $69 billion. Add the earlier losses, recalls, studio purchases, and hardware bets, and Xbox became a roughly $113 billion lesson in how victory can rot from inside. The brand that once made Halo nights feel like the future now sends its own icons to rival consoles just to recover costs. That was not collapse from weakness. Xbox did not fall because Microsoft lacked money. It fell because money taught Microsoft the wrong lesson. And that lesson almost destroyed the thing people loved. From 2001 to 2020, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft fought a brutal hardware cycle. One company would dominate, grow arrogant, stumble, and leave space for the next challenger. Sony ruled the early 2000s with PlayStation 2. Microsoft entered not because it loved games first, but because it feared a non-Windows computer in every living room. Nintendo stepped away from the power race and found casual players instead. Then the board flipped. Xbox 360 became the loudest name in online gaming, while Sony struggled with PlayStation 3. By the 2010s, the order reversed again. PlayStation 4 surged, Xbox One stumbled, and Nintendo rebuilt itself after Wii U. The war looked endless. Then it quietly ended, with Xbox a distant third in hardware for 2 generations. Then the bill arrived. The first Xbox era was not a normal console launch. Microsoft was under pressure from antitrust regulators, the public internet, and open-source software like Linux. Windows was still powerful, but the world was moving toward browsers, apps, and connected devices. To Microsoft, PlayStation 2 looked dangerous because it was cheap, popular, online capable, and sitting under televisions. If Sony added Linux, a browser, keyboard, and mouse, that gaming box could threaten Windows at home. So Xbox became a defensive weapon. Microsoft built it like a PC, not a toy. It had an 8GB hard drive when PlayStation 2 used 8MB memory cards. It carried NVIDIA graphics, real-time Dolby sound, and built-in Ethernet. That made it powerful, expensive, and financially ugly. Microsoft priced it near PlayStation 2, but lost about $125 on every console sold. Power needed proof. That proof was Halo. Microsoft bought Bungie before launch, and Halo became the exclusive that gave Xbox an identity. Its environments, enemies, textures, water effects, and multiplayer made the console feel like a machine from the future. But one hit could not repair the business model. Sony had the larger audience, the larger library, and $7 to $10 royalties on third-party games. Nintendo sold fewer GameCubes than Xbox, but made money faster through efficient hardware and first-party games. Microsoft had the worst economics in the room. It charged more for accessories, funded exclusives, contracted outside studios, and acquired developers like Rare. Splinter Cell, Knights of the Old Republic, Morrowind, Fable, and Ninja Gaiden gave Xbox credibility. But every bet cost years and millions before anyone knew if players cared. The only escape was software revenue, yet software required players, and players required software. That circle nearly trapped Xbox at birth. Then Microsoft found the one advantage Sony and Nintendo underestimated. Xbox Live cost $49.99 per year and turned online console play into a managed network. On PC and PlayStation 2, online multiplayer was messy. Players juggled servers, accounts, lag, and random tools. Xbox Live gave everyone one identity, one friends list, matchmaking, voice chat, and a shared dashboard. It made the console feel alive. It also demanded broadband, when 80% of American households still used dial-up. Players had to buy a starter kit with a headset, because Microsoft wanted voice chat to become normal. By 2005, Xbox Live had passed 1 million subscribers. The console still lost huge money, but Microsoft had discovered recurring revenue. Then, Sony blinked. The Xbox 360 launched in 2005, 1 year before PlayStation 3. That timing changed everything. Halo 2 had already made online console gaming mainstream. And the 360 turned Xbox Live into the center of the system. Achievements, gamer score, digital storefronts, demos, and Xbox Live Arcade made the dashboard feel alive. The hardware used modern architecture and delivered visuals that shaped the generation. Microsoft bought momentum with games. Call of Duty 2, Oblivion, Ghost Recon, Gears of War, Dead Rising, BioShock, and Mass Effect gave the 360 an early reputation as the place for serious players. But speed had a hidden cost. To beat Sony and improve hardware economics, Microsoft cut corners. The GPU sat under the disk drive. Cooling was weak. Clips held parts where screws should have. Before launch, as many as 7 out of 10 units failed on the factory line. Executives shipped anyway. The red ring of death became a global disaster. Millions of consoles failed. Microsoft first absorbed outrage, then committed over $1 billion to repairs, shipping, extended warranties, reimbursements, and motherboard replacements. In most generations, that would have killed Xbox. But Sony made an even bigger strategic error. PlayStation 3 arrived powerful, expensive, and painful to build for. Ken Kutaragi wanted a supercomputer for the living room, not just a console. It played Blu-ray and cost $200 more than Xbox 360. Developers hated its complexity. Cross-platform games like Madden, Tony Hawk, and Splinter Cell often ran worse on PS3. Textures were reduced, frames dropped, and effects disappeared. Xbox survived because its rival tripped. By 2008, Microsoft's gaming division finally turned profitable. The money came less from boxes and more from subscriptions, royalties, and Xbox Live Arcade. During the Great Recession, players bought $10 digital games like Braid and Castle Crashers. Digital sales were cleaner than discs. No manufacturing, no shipping, no resale. By 2010, full games came to Xbox Live. Microsoft's cut on third-party digital sales rose from about 10% to 30%. By 2011, online transactions brought in more revenue than Xbox Live subscriptions. The trap was set. Sony recovered with the $299 PS3 Slim in 2009, backed by Uncharted 2, Demon's Souls, Killzone 2, God of War 3, Gran Turismo 5, and Heavy Rain. By 2013, PS3 had passed Xbox 360 in sales. Yet Microsoft had learned something dangerous. It could lose hardware battles and still make cleaner money through services. Ahead of iPhone and iPad. A third of 360 owners bought one by 2012, and over 100 entertainment channels entered the dashboard. Executives saw users watching more video than playing games and thought Xbox had outgrown gaming. But that data mostly measured online users, not everyone. People watched Netflix and YouTube because the console was already connected. Kinect sold because it was novel. Then many units gathered dust. Microsoft confused convenience with desire. From 2013 to 2019, that confusion exploded. Xbox One launched at $500 with Kinect required. The console needed an internet check every 24 hours. Games had to install to the hard drive and attach to one account. Used games and sharing were threatened. Region locks added more friction. The disc was becoming a license, and the reveal focused more on television than games. Microsoft promoted NFL integration, a Steven Spielberg Halo show, exclusive programming, and voice commands. Sony struck within a week. PlayStation 4 allowed used games, played offline, and cost $100 less. Microsoft reversed its policies before launch, but the damage was permanent. The PS4 had far more exclusives, and it outsold Xbox One by about 2-1. Xbox lost the generation before the box reached living rooms. Trust had burned. Steve Ballmer was pushed out after years of pressure and the Nokia disaster. Satya Nadella took over and changed Microsoft's image. Office came to iPad. .NET became open source. Visual Studio became free. Xbox got new leadership and a warmer public face. But the strategy shifted hard towards services, cloud, and recurring revenue. Hardware became less important. Engagement became the metric. Game Pass copied the Netflix model. The catalog was cheap, deep, and heavily subsidized. Microsoft bought Mojang, Obsidian, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, and others. By late 2018, Xbox emphasized monthly active users and gameplay hours. Even weaker first-party releases could be framed as successes if people kept playing. The division passed $10 billion in revenue despite losing badly in hardware. To investors, that looked clever. To players, it started to feel hollow. Then came the fourth era. Microsoft spent $69 billion on Activision Blizzard, gaining Call of Duty, Candy Crush, and mobile reach. Candy Crush had 240 million monthly players. Microsoft now earned from rival devices. As Call of Duty owner, it could collect around 70% of microtransaction revenue on Sony hardware. But the purchase created pressure to return capital. The era of cheap money ended, and patience shrank. Xbox hardware withered. The gap against PlayStation 5 grew to roughly 3-1. There were not enough Xbox owners left to justify keeping every major exclusive locked down, so the old symbols had to travel. Halo, Forza, and Gears could no longer be treated only as console weapons. They became software assets seeking the largest possible market. The console war had become a spreadsheet. Now Xbox lives inside a contradiction. It needs beloved games to sell Game Pass, but Game Pass can make individual games feel less valuable. It needs studios to create culture, but demands 30% profit margins from them. It claims to respect creativity while shutting award-winning teams like Tango and Arcane. Internally, the business has been described as operating near an unacceptable 3% profit margin. Leadership has also said $20 billion was spent across 5 years, with no appetite for endless reinvestment. Quality became optional. The Xbox story is not only about consoles, it is about what happens when monetization replaces product judgment. Competition once forced Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo to recover from disasters by building better hardware, better games, and better experiences. Without that pressure, the safest path becomes extraction. Xbox began as a costly gamble to protect Windows from the living room. It became a network, then a storefront, then a subscription, then a portfolio of assets, looking for the highest return. Somewhere in that transformation, the magic became harder to find. Microsoft did not run out of money. Xbox ran out of reasons for people to believe. Owning the platform means nothing if people stop loving it.